travel. Um, like I always do, I just want to go over some of our expectations of you guys for each and every session that we have together. Attendance, you guys are here. Let's go ahead and check that off. As you guys come in, everyone here so far, cameras are on, so thank you so much. Just be aware and just also just encourage yourselves as far as it comes to participation and engagement. All of this will count on our end when we are discussing and talking about top scholars, which is another important topic. Real quick before we get into our session, I just want to go over some of our student requirements here. I know you guys not for every session, but for some sessions, we do have homework assignments. So we do expect you guys to complete that on the dates that they are due. We have evaluations after each session that we ask for you guys to complete, as well as the assessments or the quizzes that we have after each session. We did ask for everyone to join Google Classroom to respond to some of the prompts that are there, and to reach out if you have any questions. So before our course began, there was a pre-assessment quiz that we wanted all the scholars to complete. And as of right now, only one scholar has done so. It's very important for everyone in the program to complete this pre-assessment quiz. I believe it should be in your emails. The link should be in the very first email we sent out to you and probably the second one. If you need the link, just let me know. All right, all of the information, all of the assignments is very important as we sit and we talk and gather information and discuss our top scholar. And we can't have a top scholar who hasn't completed all the assignments for each and every session. So we want everyone to be in the running. So if you have not completed that pre-assessment, go ahead and make sure you do that. And make sure you do all of the things, right? Just check it off. If you haven't joined Google Classroom, please go and do that. Make sure you complete the assessments, the quizzes, and the evaluations that occur after each and every session. And if you have any questions, just please feel free to reach out. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand it over to your instructor professor for this evening, Chef Dre. This is a very exciting course because on top of all the knowledge that you guys are going to gain today, it's also very hands-on. And so a lot of our scholars, they really do enjoy these last two sessions because you actually get a chance to get in the kitchen and utilize some of the things that you will learn today. So with that being said, I'll hand it over to Chef Dre.
Outstanding. Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. Outstanding. So this particular class, you're definitely going to need your cameras on because I need to see that you are actually participating. So Harlem, you need to get to a place where you're in the kitchen and can turn your camera on or find another phone or your camera because it does help with the participation of this particular class because it's a little bit more hands-on than the other classes. But welcome to all you guys. Of course, I am Chef Andre. Blasting Game. I am here in Dallas, Texas, and we're going to have some fun today. So let me get to sharing my screen first and make sure I got my stuff together. Hope everybody is having an absolutely fabulous day. I know that I am. The day has been incredible so far. All right. Okay,
Been
so
pretty
we got
awesome
that
for me
there.
because, of course, I had the day off today. So
Having the day off does change things, right? All right, let me know when you can see my screen. Give me a thumbs up or put a one in the chat. Excellent. So, good evening. Welcome to the 2025 version of Hospitality and Travel Culinary Basics. We are excited to have you this evening. Thank you for having your cameras on for those that do. I hope you got all the ingredients. If you didn't get eggs, I understand they're still expensive, so it's all right. I might just admit that from the course going forward because of the the high rising cost of eggs, but you guys have seen me almost every single night in every single class because I, myself, and Dr. Kennedy, we're both the coordinators and facilitators for this hospitality and travel course that we do during the summertime. So, hold on one second. All right. Somebody's coming late to the class. All right. So, culinary basics. a little bit about me. Okay. Uh, Chef Andre Blasingame. The picture that you see to the right is me teaching a group of 16 women down in Costa Rica for my international project in partnership with Kata University to bring in a additional type of new Costa Rican trialba cuisine to the area. And so you can see the kind of stove that the ladies get to use for this. We do everything very, very hands-on. They're very old school in a lot of things that they do down there. It's wonderful for me. No electronics, no fancy anything in there. Just, thermometers, knives, and great food. So a little bit about me: 30 years experience in business and hospitality. I'm an international chef, a coach, speaker, and entrepreneur. I own a catering company in Dallas called Heavenly Catering. We've been in business about 15 years. We have a 4.9 star rating on Google. So I pride myself in that because we really push on hospitality and service, and the food is always top notch. I also own a AC International LLC, which is my coaching, consulting, and coaching firm that I help other business owners that's in the hospitality industry and abroad really balance their time and dispel the myth of work-life balance, because the thing that's out of balance is them. I'm a former sous chef at Walt Disney World, a former executive chef for Dr. Pepper and American Airlines when I worked in corporate, two-time world food champ, two-time Texas super chef, three-time Pro Start champion in Texas, and two-time national champion coach on the Pro Start level. And some of the things that are near and dear to my heart, is a S.O.A.R Hospitality and Travel, Old School to New School, and BCA Global, which is the Black Culinary Alliance, right? So that's just a little bit about me. Very knowledgeable, really love and enjoy what I do. So let's see. Somebody has something in the chat. All right. Thank you, Chaz. All right. So we're going to get into a brief history of the culinary arts. Okay. So who started culinary arts? Who gave it its name? Right. It was a gentleman, two gentlemen actually, by the name of Marie Antoine Cremy, Augustus Escoffier, and one other gentleman by the name of Ferdinand Point. These were we consider to be the fathers of modern cuisine. Creme, I always pronounce his name wrong because I can't, roll my letters like the French do. But creme is known for hot cuisine, food grand in taste and looks. Escoffier is known for simplifying that concept into classic cuisine. And Ferdinand was the point of nouvelle cuisine, of natural flavor, fresh ingredients, and simplified cooking. So these three historical chefs lived in the from let's see, Marie was 1784 to about the 1800s. Escoffier was mid 1800s to the mid 1900s, and Ferdinand was the late 1800s to the mid 1900s as well. And they are legendary for influencing modern day cuisine. As you can see, some of the pictures that they have, these were inspired from these gentlemen, what they started in way back then about elevating the look of food and pairing it with the taste. Scoffier has been truly considered the pinnacle of it because he took it a step further. Besides just ingredients and food, he also created what we call the kitchen brigade system. And so if you get into hospitality at all, you'll understand that most restaurants, if not all, have a certain kitchen brigade system, which starts with what we call in the United States an executive chef. There's a garde manger chef, which is like a co-prep chef. There's a sous chef, et cetera, et cetera. Line cooks, prep cooks, all the way down to the dishwasher. And so they have shaped and influenced modern day cuisine and its culture, and how today's chefs are even trained. However, many other chefs like James Hemming have also made their mark in culinary arts. Now, what's great about creme is the elaborate cooking style that they use with the dishes that tasted good and looked like architectural designs, which is why I picked that picture there. And they call it grand cuisine. He spent much of his time developing new and improved culinary skills. Often referred to as the first celebrity chef of his time, he cooked for royalty and famous figures like Napoleon and the Tsar of Russia. He classified all sauces into like a four category of what we call mother sauces. Now, mother sauces have been expanded to more than four, but he became known as the person that created what you call a mother sauce. So a mother sauce is a base sauce that can be formed into anything. Two of the most popular is a bechamel and an espanol. Bechamel is a white sauce, and an espanol is a brown sauce, right? Those two sauces are usually the base for most of the sauces that you eat today. Even if you enjoy places like Cane's, right? Their sauce that they use has a base of a bechamel type sauce, a white sauce, right? And they use that and add different things, ingredients, spices, and flavors to it to take it up to another level. And so those are some of the things that they started off with. They're also known for improving our chef's uniform, notably the chef's hat, which is also called a torque, which basically it's like a crown for chefs, and it's still being worn today from the 1700s, right? So Escoffier had the longest standing career as a chef of 62 years. He thought Gourmet's dishes were too elaborate and simplified them to casual cuisine style that we have of today, right? And so he reclassified a lot of the sauces, like an Allemande sauce is known as a tomato sauce now. Then they have a hollandaise type sauce. And then these five sauces get recategorized by chefs today all the time. The bechamel is the white sauce, a velouté is a velvety in between type sauce, and espanol is a brown sauce, hollandaise rich and creamy, and tomato. And so Escoffier changed how service was done as well. That's probably the biggest thing he's known for besides the food. He's the one that came up with the brigade system that I was telling you for the back of the house, and also how we dine. You know, if you know anything about fine dining, if you get three forks and two spoons and a knife and a plate in front of you, does anybody here know in what order you're supposed to use the forks or how you're supposed to eat?
Is there one
Nicole, you want to take? Okay, go ahead,
like a
Michael.
salad fork and then like a I don't know, meat fork and then maybe like a dessert spoon or something?
You know what? That is pretty close. Now, how do you use it? When you see these three forks next to each other, how do you eat? Which fork do you know to choose first?
Start from the left.
You start from the far left and you work your way in, outside in. So typically, the far left is your appetizer or salad. Then the middle one is your entree, and then the last one could be an intermiso, which is an Italian word which means in immediate, not intermediate in the middle before the final. And usually you have a dessert spoon that's at the top or a knife, things of that nature. And so Escoffier is known for having that. And the food courses back in the day, everything was buffet style, right? They would bring all the food out at once and everybody would just eat. Escoffier changed how service was done and have it in portions and in layers. So instead of everything being out at once, now we get an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. Or if it's 4 or 5, 6, 10 courses, typically it's not all brought out at once, it's brought out intermediately. So, and that's how service is done today. Okay. Scoffier is very, very important. So, y'all remember that name. So, we're going to talk a little bit about how food evolved into a restaurant, if you will. In the 16th century, restaurant came from a French word called restore, right? And that means to restore. Okay. That's how restaurant, the name came to what it was. It is a restorer, which means to restore. And so during the 1600s, the word restorative was used to describe rich and highly flavored soups and stews, capable of restoring lost strength. So rich people still ate a variety of food and had a great deal of meat. However, the poor people usually ate drearier foods, less foods, things that were easy and inexpensive. So in the morning, they would have things like bread, cheese, and onions. Those are all inexpensive things back then because they made the cheese themselves. They didn't go down to the grocery store about it. They made everything themselves, or they went into town and got it from somebody who made it in town. They only had one cooked meal a day back then. Can you imagine only eating once a day? That was the only meal cooked, right? Everything else is juices, berries, apples, whatever they could scrounge. But it was only one cooked meal, and they would mix grain with water and add vegetables, and put in strips of meat, which is how you came up with stews and soups, right? Now everybody ate bread, but it varied in quality. Of course, the people that were the upper epsilon, got fine refined stuff. And it's funny when you think about food and bread when you go grocery shopping. The rich people's bread was fine white flour, and the poor people's bread was barley or rye, right? And to this day, rye is not as popular as going to get a white food flour enriched bread. You see a lot more of those when you go in the grocery store, any store for that matter, to buy it, but you see a lot less barley and rye because of the stigma that it's had from back then between rich and poor, right? I think that is just so interesting how that was four, five centuries ago now, and it's still being practiced to this day. It's just that it's not just the rich that has access to the good stuff anymore. Now the commoners can have the good stuff. It just costs more, right? And so during the 16th century, new types of food were introduced from the Americas. Turkeys were introduced into England in the 1500s. Potatoes were brought to England. They didn't naturally grow there. They were brought to England close to the 1600s. Few English people ate it. Things like apricots that came from Southern Europe. When I think of apricot here, it's pretty prevalent because it's grown, but back then apricots was high cotton. You're living on the top of the world, with apricots, right? And in the 1600, and you can write this down for your notes, that's when cauliflower was introduced in England. Cauliflower of all things didn't come into the 1600s. That's just a little extra tidbit of life. So we're going to fast forward to the 1700s. Now, this is really simple. This is when they began eating food with forks. Okay. Prior to that, most cultures didn't use forks. They would stab food, right? I know in my Asian cultures, they were using chopsticks. Somewhere it started in the 10th century when they went from eating with their hands to actually using a utensil. And in England, it started in the 17th century where people began using forks, spoons, knives, and things like that. And before, they would eat with their hands. I know, like, with my background and things that I researched with my ancestors from Northern Africa, the practice was to eat with your hands because you had a better connection with the food, right? Even though you may have killed that animal, you may have picked that plant, eating the food with your hands was almost paying homage to the food you gathered, collected, and put together, right? Sometimes I do that to this day. Sometimes I won't eat a fork and a knife. I'll just eat the food, with my hands so I can have an appreciation for the food that I am dining on and have a bit of respect for, right? And also in the 17th century, another little tidbit is that bananas and pineapples were discovered, right, in England in the 17th century, right? So we only had bananas for 400 or 500 years that they know of that's documented in England. I'm sure all the tropical places are kind of like, well, we've had those for longer than that. But historically, when it comes to food, it said that it was introduced in the 1700s for bananas and pineapples. Now let's move to the 1800s. Not much changed in the 1800s, very little change. But in the 1800s, we're getting closer to what's known as the industrial age, right? So if they're still teaching this in school, the industrial age is where everything became more manufactured than just grown and picked. Farmers got better equipment. Farmers got better access to things. They were producing things at a higher volume much faster. And so the improvements in the farming industry were tremendous. But also during that time, because of that change, things got even more expensive. So for a lot of people, meat became a luxury, right? And ordinary people had to still be plain and eat regular stuff. A poor person's food was still bread and potatoes because it was inexpensive, right? And The rich people still were, eating their different flavors of meats and having all the finest things in life. And the people that didn't have that amount of money, had to be creative in what they grow to be better when you're dealing with potatoes and food. And then tea got very popular in England. I want y'all to keep this in mind in England. There's some other history texts that was popular in a lot of different places, but that's when it got popular for people who didn't have money. And it's just hard for me to believe 300, 400 years later that, the things that we may take lightly, like having tea and coffee and, white bread and butter, were things only for the wealthy, right? And now we have access to it, whether you're middle class or poor. It's not just for the wealthy. All right. The 19th century. All right. Now, the 19th century, a lot of great things happened in the 19th century. So by mid-century, when you think of the 19th century, we're talking about, the centuries are always one ahead. So we're in the 21st century. So the 19th century is the 1800s, the booming of the industrial age. So by mid-century in the 19th century, restaurants in Paris were serving elaborate meals, grand cuisine, dozens of courses, elaborated, prepared, and garnished. In the early 19th century, the working class lived on plain foods such as bread, butter, potatoes, and bacon. Butcher's meat was a luxury. I still go to the butcher nowadays sometimes, to get that wonderful cut of meat, get that exact right marbling. But anyway, that was reserved for the rich back then. The diet of ordinary people greatly improved in the 19th century because railways and steamships, remember, industrial age, food and industrial interact. The steamships made it possible to import cheap grain from North America, so bread became cheaper. Refrigeration made it possible to import cheap meat from Argentina and Australia, and the consumption of sugar also increased a lot. So by the end of the 19th century, most people, not all, were eating a much better diet, a much diverse diet, whether you were poor or rich, right? And then in Chechnya in 1843, the sugar cube was invented. So sugar lumps became available in Britain in 1875. The first fish and chip shop in Britain opened in the 1800s, late 1800s, right, in British towns. So when you hear fish and chips, it's fish and French fries. They just call them chips in Britain, okay? And I know some of you are international travelers and probably have heard that saying. So there you have it. So in the late 19th century, canned food became widely available. Again, we're shifting from people having to farm and create all their own food, the rich people having enough money to buy and do the same thing, to the industrial portion of it, where things begin to be packaged, shipped, and sold easier than what the people were farming. So 19th century is when canned food became available. The can opener was invented in 1870 by William Layman. Margarine, uh, butter substitute, right? I know many of you probably don't even know margarine is a butter substitute as opposed to butter, but it's a butter substitute. Was invented by the Frenchman, and new biscuits were invented. The cracker was invented. The digestive biscuit was invented. I mean, the chocolate bar was made in 1847. Milk chocolate was in 1875. The first recipe of potato chips, um, they called them crisp back then, appeared in a book by a Dr. Kirchner. Now, he wasn't the person that created potato chips, but we'll get into that a little later. Gail Borden. Does anybody know the name Borden? Has anybody ever heard that name?
As in the cheese?
And you know what? That's a good one, as in the cheese. Borden is attributed to patenting the first condensed milk. Borden milk. So Borden makes milk. I don't know if you've seen it in the stores. I think it's what is it, a cow that's on the Borden's design. I forget because I don't drink any milk, but I do use it to cook. So Borden is attributed with the patent in condensed milk back in 1856. So when you see the Borden name, he was one of the first people not only to do condensed milk, but to bottle it and sell it and send it to people, right? In addition to that, refrigeration, right? The first refrigerator was invented in 1800 by a gentleman by the name of Oliver Evans. Now, back then they called it an ice box. Does anybody know why they called it an ice box back in the 1800s and the 1900s?
Isn't it because they used to like put a huge block of ice in it?
That is 100% correct. Before it was called refrigerator, it was called an ice box, right? And you may hear some of your grandparents referring to it, great grandparents, as an ice box, because when they grew up, there wasn't a regulator for the coldness. It was just a block of ice that was in there that kept your food from spoiling and lasting longer. Things like, meat, cheese, milk, things of that nature. And of course, it evolved into the refrigerators that we have now, where you can have freezers on the bottom and refrigerators on top or side by side, depending on what type of refrigerator you have. But back then, it was just a block of ice that they would put it in there, right? And in homes, even though it was invented in 1805, it didn't get into people's houses as a regular mainstay until 1913. Okay. That is 110 years ago. So when you look at your refrigerator, you realize it's only been used in 110 years. That's a very short a period of time. I mean, it's a long time when you think of a century's worth, but when you think about a product like a refrigerator that's revolutionized the food industry and keeping things fresh and applicable, that is a huge, huge thing. So, and then for me as a chef, I always talk about this. The first electric oven was sold in the United States in 1891. And then we beat Britain in that one because they didn't start selling them until 1893. It's not many things, that foreign countries, I mean, that the U.S. can attribute to being first at, during the industrial age. But it's great to know that, at least here in the country, we we figured out how to get it to everybody to help them have longevity in their food, right? So the electric oven, they sold about 500,000 of them, and the first electric toaster was invented by Crumpton and Company. So it was a pop-up toaster. So those are just some tidbits of what happened in the 19th century as it relates to food. The refrigeration and storage got better. The application to be able to cook it got better, and the ability to just make it accessible for not just the rich, but also the poor as well, and everybody in between. Now, this next person I'm going to talk about, we're going to watch a short video about Auguste Escoffier. Now, I talked about him earlier today, but he's easily an entire class on his own, the way that he streamlined everything in the cooking industry. Like, they call him the father of modern day culinary because of the different avenues that he put in and cooking methods that he used that are a basis of how we cook today. He brought order to the kitchen. And in many kitchens, we still use the French name of the positions they would have with the kitchen brigade system. So, like in the brigade system, um, one of my favorite places to work is a pantry chef or a cold prep chef, and it's called a garde-manger, which basically means cold prep. And a cold prep chef handles just about everything cold, from salads to cutting up fruit, anything that deals with cold prep. And they also deal with food that needs to be cooked and then made cold again, right? And so that was one of my favorite places to work when I was young, coming up in the culinary world. And then another very popular one that you'll probably hear is pâtissier, which is a patisserie chef or a pastry chef. That's the one that handles all of the pastries that happen, from cakes to turnovers to biscuits to any number of things, right? And so those are just some of the names that he revolutionized. Things like the saute chef, the fish chef, the roast chef, the grill chef. These all have French names like the rôtissier, the fruitière, the saucier, right? These are all French names to explain the different positions that are needed in a typical kitchen for it to thrive and move forward. Now, some kitchens have people that, do multiple things in those positions, but it's basically called the Brigade de Cuisine, the kitchen brigade. Okay. Might be a test on that. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So now we're going to hop into a video with the gentleman is going to talk briefly for a couple of minutes about how impactful Escoffier has truly been for the culinary industry. Let me know you can see the video.
We don't hear the sound, Chef Dre, if there's supposed to be sound going.
We can't hear the video.
You guys can't hear that?
No, that's what I was saying. I said, is there supposed to
Is
be
that for everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Scientific principles.
All right, can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Okay, my
Man, you
apologies.
ask how important is Escoffier, and the thing is like, how important is Escoffier? The other day, like, Escoffier was everything. I mean, I used to work with this guy at Ducasse who had the cover of the Repertoire de Cuisine, Escoffier's classic book, tattooed on his entire back. That's how important Escoffier is.
He came, he saw, he cooked. His name was Auguste Escoffier, and like many revolutionaries, his goal was modest. He just wanted to completely change the way we eat.
Escoffier was a revolutionary in that he democratized access to French cuisine. It was a very medieval, guild-like atmosphere. And Escoffier says, no, I'm going to write it all down. And by writing it all down, I can make it accessible to anyone. That was a revolutionary idea that changed cooking around the world.
Auguste would say to his employees, make it simple, make it simple, make it simple. My name is Michel Escoffier, and I'm a great-grandson of a famous chef who is regarded today as the father of modern cooking.
Inspiring future chefs and future tattoos, Escoffier codifies the cuisine, giving detailed step-by-step instructions.
Where you have your grandmother saying, oh, I just put a pinch of this and a pinch of that, Escoffier was the one who go, it's a quarter teaspoon.
And he wanted to introduce scientific principles into the cuisine. And one of those key principles, if you like, is the idea that these things can be expressed as a set of laws and rules and set down in a book, so that the dish you can make today, you can make exactly the same dish again tomorrow.
The Guide Culinaire, which Auguste Escoffier published in 1903, is really, even today, the Bible to every great chef.
Escoffier was the first one to just canonize everything and to put down on paper everything that there was in cooking. Before him, there were no recipes. And after him, the entire restaurant business began. All of a sudden, people like me start frying octopus legs because of Escoffier.
Now that chefs have a manual on how to cook, Escoffier organizes a way to cook these recipes on a massive scale by implementing the brigade system, an army-like reorganization of the kitchen staff.
If I work for Escoffier, I've got one thing that is regularity. I know my place and I know what I'm doing.
He will appoint chefs that will be responsible for particular types of food. They will have sous chefs, and the sous chefs will have assistants, and each person reports to the person above them. I think it's all for the better. It's great.
Today, the kitchen. Tomorrow, the world.
All right. So, everybody give me one thing that they learned from the video. We'll start with Nicole.
He was the founding father of modern cooking.
I'll take it. Thank you, Nicole. Nana, how about you?
Um, Wait, I forgot. Well, I was gonna say the same thing, but yeah.
Well, you got to say something different. We already know that. They started off the video with that. What's something else that Escoffier did?
Um,
All right, I'll let you think about it and then come back. Michael,
All right.
how about you?
He made restaurants and cooking accessible to everyone by making it simple.
Fire. There we go. Liv, how about you? You still there, Olivia? I know you were watching because you told me there was
Yes,
no
I'm still
sound.
here. I'm sorry. My thing is I'm sorry. But yeah, basically what Mike was saying. I'm trying to think of another one. Hold on.
All right. Harlem, I see you're in there. Give me one thing that you learned from the video.
He was the first one to write down recipes.
That's right. He modernized us to have things to remember. That's awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. What is it? 6:12? Perfect. I'm making great time. All right. And so the picture that you see on the screen, the gentleman that was in the video, that's me and him together at the World Food Championships, Chef Eric Greenspan. You know, he is a celebrity chef in his own right, with hosting restaurants all over and international. And me and him got to compete against each other. I won. Compete against each other at the World Food Championships in some exhibition style tournaments. But he's an incredible guy, really, really, really fun. And it was cool because when this was the first time that we had actually met this picture, and I told him, I said, I use your video in my classes. And I actually get to meet you in person and we get to compete against each other. So it was like a beautiful thing for me. Right. So but that is him, Eric Greenspan. I wanted to show everybody that he is a real live person. I met him, incredible chef. All right, so we're gonna keep it moving. We're gonna bring it up to the 20th century. Then after that, we're gonna take a quick break, and I believe we're gonna take a quick break. If I remember my own slideshows. But in the 20th century, it a lot of things in food, became went to the next level. So culinary changed. I know here in the US, one of the things that really brought a variety of cuisine here to the United States, and believe it or not, was the Immigration Act of 1965, because it brought in a large number of different people here, including the African Americans and my ancestors that were already here that were cooking, creating cuisines from leftovers. It brought over a lot of Asian Americans. It brought over a lot of people from Europe, and food started to evolve. Right, Americans were used to overly salted cuisines because the palate of the powers that be at the time, it was just kind of salt and pepper. But then you have the Asians in Vietnam and Thailand and all these different dishes that came over and started really creating some greatness here in the United States, because at that time, America was big on TV dinners. The TV had just came out in the 40s or 50s, And so a lot of packaged and processed food started even before you guys' time, where it was, microwaved or cooked in the oven, and it was sat in front of a TV and you ate it out of a, square plate. We call them TV dinners. Processed food. A lady by the name of Alice Waters, she opened up a restaurant called Chef Panisse with the goal of serving fresh food and rejecting the current trend at that time of processed food. As time goes on, we're still using a lot of processed food here in the American diet. They call it SAD, so you guys will know the standard American diet is literally SAD, right? Because of the amount of processed food that's in it, the packaged food, the quick serve, the quick service ability, and many chefs, including myself, over time have really trying to push this healthy green. Let's eat natural. Less GMOs, no GMOs. Put the seeds back in the fruit, et cetera, et cetera. So but that was some of the things they wanted to change during that time, and farmers and chefs began working together to make fresh, locally grown foods. And so now it's been kind of that balance and fight. Do we stay a country that's dealing with packaged and processed food, or do we go back to the 19th century, 18th century, and before, and start eating very natural, straight from God's great earth, food that hasn't been processed, adjusted, or messed with, to really maximize who we are in, the food industry. And the farm to table movement is big. I'm a member of the farm to table movement. I probably do about 75% of my things come from farm to table when I cook for my clients. And so it's important that you have that balance and understand that. And that just happened here, recently with all this processed food in the last 50 years. It's crazy. All right. So all right. So before we go to break, I'm gonna show you a quick video. Just for fun.
Key and Peele, a new sketch series. Premieres Tuesday, January 31st at 10:30.
All right, so that particular skit was just for fun. Sometimes it happens in the kitchen. Communication is key and important. But yeah, I love showing that video. It's always funny because sometimes there's chefs that are out there that in the kitchen they'll confuse you like that, pretty regularly. And of course, I was poking fun at Gordon Ramsay. So shout out to Gordon. All right, so we're gonna take a quick 10-minute break. It is now 7:19. So in this 10 minutes, go gather your ingredients, go head to the kitchen if you're not already there. Get everything that you need out and ready because we're going to hop right into it. All right. So come back at 7:29. Thank you, scholars. Where is the pause the recording? All right, can you guys see me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Let's move right along. Does everybody have eggs? Actually, you know what? We're going to skip the egg portion. I'm going to save that for the end. All right, so you should already be in the kitchen. You should have your cutting board out. That was one of the things I asked for during your 10 minutes. So one of the things that, if not the first and one of the most important fundamentals that a chef learns is knife cuts. As you can see the picture over there, those are the different knife cuts. As you watch this short video about knife cuts, I want you to pick one of the knife cuts and you're going to use that knife cut in all of the cutting you're going to do today with the tomato lettuce with the tomato, onion, and cucumber. Okay, so this is a fundamental important step as a chef. So if you're moving around, please put on your camera and you're going to pick a knife cut from this video. You don't have to tell me the knife cut. I should be able to tell you when you show me on the video, but we're going to play this video. Go back real quick. All right, can everybody see that? Batnay, Julienne, small dice, Brunoise, large dice, fine Julienne, fine Brunoise, and medium dice. These are your choices for the tomato, cucumber, onion salad we're going to make. All right? I'm going to give you about 5 more seconds to look at this. Batnay, Julienne, small dice, Brunoise, large dice, fine Julienne, fine Brunoise, and medium dice. Pick it quickly. 3, 2, 1. Now you're going to see some of the processes. This is going to be even smaller. The first two that you saw were the julienne and the dice. This one's going to be Brunoise, which is even smaller. This one is the fine julienne, and then the fine Brunoise comes out of the fine julienne. Now, chiffonade really only works well on leafy vegetables. It doesn't work as well on root vegetables. So don't choose this one. You're gonna have a rough time at it. You can do it with the onions, but that's about it. All right. All right. So everybody's picked out what their cut is going to be? Yes? Put a 1 in the chat if you have picked what your cut is going to be. Appreciate you, Harlem. Appreciate you, Michael. Appreciate you, Nicole. All right. Got all your ingredients out. Now, I'm going to play this video. We're going to make the tomato, cucumber, and onion salad. I know there was a couple questions in the chat about what Italian dressing is. We addressed that. If you don't have Italian, please try to use another vinegar and oil-based dressing, like a raspberry vinaigrette, what is that other one? Lemon and garlic um, vinaigrette, something that's a vinaigrette. But if you have one that's thicker, like a Thousand Island or a French or a ranch, you can use that too. But preferred Italian dressing because it's the best for this combination of food. All right. All right. Let's get to chopping. What's up, good people? This is Chef Dre Blast coming at you again with the recipe for today. Now, today's dish has a great background in personal in my life because it was something that I had an opportunity to experience growing up. My father, on Mondays, that was the only day he had off. On Mondays, he and I would go out together and always go out to eat and have some time and go to these different restaurants. And he liked those cafeteria type restaurants like a Blue Boar or Luby's, what else, Irma's, different things like that. And so they had this particular salad that I really enjoyed as a kid. So this particular salad it's a popular one, definitely a great Southern dish, and it's very simple to make, very easy to make, very easy to duplicate. It's my personal favorite. As a kid, I wasn't a big salad fan, right? And so, but this was one salad that I really enjoyed on a regular basis. It was crisp. It was refreshing. It had nutrients in it. It was fun. And it had two of my favorite fruit and vegetable in it. Had tomato and onion. You typically can't go wrong with me with tomato and onion. You know what I mean? So so today we're going to make Chef Andre's cucumber and tomato salad. It's very simple to make. We've done very minimal modifications to it to make it enjoyable for you. So the first thing we're going to do is let's discuss the ingredients, all right? So first ingredient, heirloom tomato. Now this particular tomato came out of a great friend of mine's garden that she grows cucumbers and tomatoes, jalapenos. Funny story about the jalapenos. She tells me that she can never keep a jalapeno tree because the rabbits in her backyard love to eat them. Who'd have thought? But it is Texas, right? I expect jalapenos to go real fast, especially with the rabbits. So first ingredient, heirloom tomato. Second ingredient, cucumbers, coming out of the same community garden, right? It's impressive that she has that community garden because before I even talked to her about it, she was already growing it. So it's great for the community, fresh fruits and vegetables coming out of your own backyard, getting back to your own sustainable source of food. And then last, my favorite, the onion. I'm one of those people that could literally bite into an onion and eat it like it was an apple. I'm not going to do it today because I need to cut it up for this salad. But you might see it in another video. Who knows? It could be coming. All right? And then the last ingredient that goes into it is Italian dressing. Now, typically we would make that from scratch. But I wanted to give something that was a little bit more cost effective and something that was faster on time. So you could purchase one at your local supermarket, farmer's market. It's usually less expensive because all the ingredients together is good if you're going to do it on a big scale. But on a smaller scale, if you're making it maybe one time, a couple times a week, go with a pre-bought Italian dressing, and it's a very simple marinade, okay? So let's get into making this salad. Boom. As you can see, we got our ingredients on the table. Take that onion off. Take that off. We're going to start with this tomato. Boom. Tomatoes done. Next. All right. So you're starting with the tomato. Based on the short video that you saw, go ahead and cut your tomato to the best of your ability in the type of dice that you saw in the previous video. I'm going to give you, it should take you literally 1 minute, but I'm going to give you 2. And you don't have to cut up the whole tomato. You can cut up half of it or a fourth of it. Just know that if you do that, you got to cut half or a fourth of the other ingredients so that they all balance out because everything is equal parts. Time begins now. All right, I see Michael, Nicole. Harlan, what kind of knife is that? I need that outdoor knife. Oh, I love it. Do you know what kind of steel it's made with? Probably not.
Yeah, no, but this is just the knife I always use. Like, it's my favorite knife.
Yep, everybody has a favorite knife. All right. Loving it, loving it. Now, one of the other keys is to that I probably forgot to mention is that this is one of the most important tools for a chef, and sharpness is a must. You don't ever want to do anything with a dull knife, right? So if you have sharpeners at home and the ability to sharpen your knife, make sure you keep them sharp because it saves your wrist and it saves you time. It's hard cutting things when you have a dull knife. It is. So you sharpen your knife. Got about 30 seconds. Once you're done with that tomato, put it in the bowl that was in your ingredients, in your equipment list. Put that whole thing in the bowl. And if you haven't finished cutting your tomato, it's okay. We're going to move on to the next one. But once you finish cutting up your tomato, put it in the bowl, and then we're going to go to the next one. The next one should be the cucumber.
Next,
See,
we're rocking with this
I've got
cucumber.
movie magic, so you know
Oh
mine.
yeah! Boom, cucumbers done. Last.
All right, cucumbers. Finish up to your tomato. Once you finish up your tomato, pull out your cucumber. And you have 2 minutes to cut it in the same dice that you cut the tomato into. Time starts now. And it's not a speed race, so take your time. And if you think you're a little bit slower on learning these cuts, you don't necessarily have to cut up the whole tomato or cut up the entire cucumber or the onion. Cut it into fourths. Okay, Liv, with the double oven. Okay, you got a proofer and an oven. Come over your house and cook. Yeah, Liv, tell Dr. Mom, when I come on that side of the world, I'm using her kitchen. Yep, talking to Dr. Mom, pour it out. Yep.
Yeah, okay. Where this do I cut half? Should I use half or should I use the whole thing?
Yeah, use half. Because you cut a whole tomato, you only need half of that cucumber to equal you really probably only need a fourth of that tomato, the cucumber to equal a tomato.
All right, thank
You
you.
can cut it down to a fourth and then cut it into the dice.
All right.
That you chose. All right, if you haven't finished cutting up your cucumber, continue to cut it until you do finish. And for those of you who have finished, we're going to move on to the onion. onion's a tricky one.
Cut up the good old onion. Boom. Onion's done. And as you can see, I already.
All right. Start on your onion. The timer starts now. I'm going to give you a hint. If you want to keep from crying, there's two ends to the onion. There's a root side and a growth side. Okay? The growth side is the side where it's usually picked. It usually looks like it has a point or a peak. The root side looks like it just came out of the dirt. Okay? If you cut it in half and leave the root side, it's the dark side, it looks like it's got a bunch of stems. If you leave that side attached, the gases in the onion most times do not emit to cause you to cry. Just a little chef tidbit.
Chef Dre, I have a question. I heard that
Yes.
also if you run an onion under cold water, that helps. Is that true?
It does.
Okay.
But
Just
some of that
curious.
depends on the age of the onion. You know, the older
Okay.
onion, you know, when onions sit in room temp, and this is a little experiment that you guys could do, anybody. You sit your onions out at room temp, um, they'll sprout. They'll resprout. So you can put it in a little bit of water and it'll grow even bigger. So you can take the tips of those onions and they'll grow. So the newer the onion, the less likely it's going to cause you to cry. The older the onion is why a lot of times it soaks so that you don't get the fumes that emit from it naturally. So yes, soaking it in water does help.
Thank you.
All right. You guys are rocking this out. All right, keep cutting your onion and listen to the video.
Pre-measured the oil out already. So now I'm going to go grab.
So for mine, I pre-measured the oil. It's for the salad size that you guys are probably using. It's about a tablespoon of the Italian dressing or the vinaigrette. If it looks dry, when you mix it all together in the bowl, you can add another tablespoon to it. If it still looks dry, add another tablespoon to it. But always start with the smaller amount and then work your way up. Don't start with a larger amount because it's easier to add than to take away.
Grab a bowl. We're going to mix all this together. We're going to be done. Hold tight. All right, now we've got our bowl. Let's mix up these ingredients. We're going to put this onion in there first. Drop this cucumber on top. Put these tomatoes.
I like my tomatoes.
I like tomatoes. Tomatoes. Then we're going to take some of this Italian dressing. Pour it right there on top. You can do this with your hands, or you can mix it together if you want to do it with, a spoon or something else. I put on my gloves so that we can go ahead and put it together. Uh-oh. Had a small setback with it falling out.
And if you think that your salad lacks a little bit of flavor,
and there you have it.
You can add a little bit of salt and pepper to it.
And tomato salad, Chef Andre's way. Pretty simple, direct, to the point. Something that you can easily make on any day. It's very refreshing and great, especially during the summertime. That's when I definitely make it, and it goes great with it. Just about any entree that you put out there, man. It's light, it's flavorful, lots of nutrients in it, and you should definitely enjoy it. So that's it. Chef Andre's tomato and cucumber salad. Very simple, inexpensive. Great for the palate. You're going to enjoy it. Your body's going to be happy to eat it. I promise you. So this has been Chef Dre Blast with today's recipe. coming straight for you. And remember, pay attention to what you do. Be safe in the kitchen. I holla.
All right.
What's
So
up, good
we
people?
should
This is
now
Chef Dre Blast coming at you.
we should now be finished with the salad. All right. And if you're not finished, keep working. Keep working. If you are finished, let me see your salad. And if you got a taste tester somewhere around you, let your parent come taste it. Or brother or sister, either one. Hey, Harlem, do you have one of those automatic stands that follows you around, or is somebody actually moving your camera for you?
I'm not sure why it does that because I'm on the iPad. So I'm normally on the phone. I don't know why it does that.
That's actually a good thing. I have one of those ones that do it for my phone. That's why I was asking. Like, if you move a certain way, or if you have it zoom in on a certain spot, the more that you move, it'll focus on that spot. So if you move, it'll move with you. So I just noticed that. I was like, okay, I see him being fancy,
It's doing that.
following them
Oh,
all around the kitchen. Excellent. All right. Anybody ready to present their salad? Nobody? Not yet?
I don't know how to flip my camera. Bro.
All right. And Michael, what dice? That looks like you chose a small dice. What dice did you choose?
It was like the fine
The fine Benoit? Wow, it
Benoit.
don't look that small.
No, it's not that fine. It's like the medium one.
Oh, okay. You did the regular Benoit.
Yeah.
Brunoise. Jesus Christ. Excellent, excellent. Did you put the dressing in it? Taste it and tell me what you think.
Yeah. I usually don't really like salad. Like the only salad I usually like is like Caesar salad. I don't really like the onions and stuff, but this one's actually not that bad. Like
Okay, good.
I like this.
I'll take not that bad. But it's good and refreshing, and it's full of a lot of the nutrients. It's great for the body.
You know, like I'll eat this. Like usually I don't really like salad, but I'll eat this. It's not. It's good.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the dressing is usually what takes it to that next level, because it's like very simple ingredients. 3 ingredients, put a little dressing on it, boom, you're ready to go. All right, anybody else ready?
yeah, this is mine.
All right, hold on. Hold on. Is that you, Harlem?
Yeah,
All right, so what dice did you choose?
I
What
did
cut?
the fine one.
You did the fine Brunoise or the fine Julienne?
The fine Benoit, I think.
The really small one. Let me see. Zoom in with your iPro Max. Okay. Good job. Did you taste it? Did you like it?
I don't really like onions, so I didn't taste it.
Hey man, Michael said the same thing. He tried it and liked it.
Yeah, I
Have you
don't really
tried
like
it yet,
onions.
at
Like
least?
the only time I like onions is like when it's cooked, like cooked onions. You know what I mean? But by itself, I can't. But this one's actually not that. I'll eat this.
You got to at least try it, because when you cook stuff in the kitchen, even though you may not like it, if you're not allergic, you do want to try it so it tastes great for other people. Or you can always have a parent come, or a sibling or somebody else in the house. Hey, try this and tell me what you think.
Yeah, it's not that bad because I took the tomato more.
You put more tomato in it?
Yeah.
Good. Nothing wrong with that, my friend. Nicole, you ready? Nope. Still putting your oil on there? Miss Liv, you ready?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to put my camera on. I'm sorry. Wait. Oh, this onion burning my eyes. I'm sorry. You see it? I don't know the name of it,
Yeah.
but
So
I
what
just
was
did
it?
the first one I seen.
That looks like a small dice, or maybe a
It's
That's
like I
really
can
it.
hold one. It's like medium. Like
Not bad. Did
yeah.
you put the dressing in it and try it yet?
Oh God, how do I?
Not oh God. Don't have anxiety for making salad, okay? No anxiety for making salad. What up, Pops?
Okay, I'll put the dress in there. I'll put the dress in it.
Okay, cool. Now stir it up and then taste it. Tell me what you think.
I gotta eat it.
Of course you gotta eat it. You
Oh,
gotta taste it. You made it. Or you know what? You can have your mom try it if you want.
okay. I'm gonna have it.
But you still have to taste it to make sure it's right. Yes, Chef Michael does have an animal by his food, but it is his house and his food.
No,
Now, if we
this
were in a
she's
regular
my taste
kitchen,
tester.
a regular kitchen, that's an absolute no-no.
Yeah, I'm home alone, so there's like literally no one else to with her.
But
So
he
she
he
just
is
like
at home with his dog eating his food.
yeah.
I just know, Michael, if I ever come over, I'm gonna think twice when you make my food. I'm just saying.
No, she'll be in.
Man, I was about to say, Chef. You said it before I could. Hey, Michael,
Yeah.
please take yourself off screen if you're gonna do that, bro.
No, I can wash my hands. I have soap right next to me.
Yeah.
I'm just Michael. You are at home. I am messing with you, my friend.
And I want to know how the
Uh,
salad tastes
My
because I
salad,
love cucumber
they
salad,
got
by the way.
pretty good. I like it.
Oh, this is the one I liked before. Yeah, that's the one that you had before. Yeah, I remember this. It ain't got salt or pepper in it. It's all right. Okay.
all right, Nicole. You ready?
Ministry is good. Teens and children. And God, Chef, she like it. Okay. I
That's
like.
what's up. Appreciate you, mom.
So I have mine here. Like
All right, what dice did you choose, Nicole?
um I I don't know, I don't remember the name, but like I choose like I tried to do the square one.
You went with the medium or the large square one?
I think the medium.
The medium dice. All right. Did you try it?
No.
You should try it. Tell me what you think. I don't know. You shaking your head, but the way you chewing, it's like you don't like it.
I was thinking the same thing.
Hey, it's okay to be honest. You don't have to like it. It's important that when you're cooking, it's about knowing the flavor profiles and what it tastes right for somebody else. Because you might make this dish for somebody else, right? You might need to add a little salt, add a little more pepper, a little more dressing. You may have to add more vegetables and then fruit to it to balance out too much dressing because you're making it for somebody else. So it's okay, you know, give it to somebody else in the house. But you at least want to try it because, like Michael's like, I don't eat this. I don't like this. But then when he tried it, it's like, you know what? It's not bad. It's not, it's actually pretty good. So don't close your mind off when it comes to food and what you taste and what you make, right? So it's important. But excellent. We are right at the top of the hour. I won't hold you any longer. I appreciate each and every one of you participating in class today in culinary basics. Now you've made your first salad. This video will be up for you to watch again. You can go back and practice some of the other knife cuts, and then this is also one of your final choices for your end of course presentation. Okay. So you're going to come up with a recipe. You're going to make this recipe. You're going to record doing this recipe, and you're going to create an Instagram, Facebook, TikTok type post that's about a minute to a minute 30, right? that you're going to submit and present at end of course. Now, end of course is next Thursday. Okay. So now that you've had this particular class, you've taken Rosie's class for travel and tourism, you've taken Tanya's class for Professor Tanya's class for hotel and lodging, you've taken restaurant and intro to culinary. You should at this point be able to either put together a travel itinerary from top to bottom, from where you start to where you finish, how much it's going to cost, what are you going to do, et cetera, with the airport codes in there, or be able to make a 1 minute to a minute 30 video of you preparing a recipe that you either created yourself or a recipe that's somebody else's. So I need the recipe, and I also need the video for your end of course presentation, which is next Thursday, or a PowerPoint presentation of your dream travel destination. Okay? All right? And with that being said, I'm going to unshare my screen. And if you look in the chat before you leave, there are 2 links. We're going to do it just like we did last class. The first one, course evaluation. What did you think of this course? Be open and honest. I'm a chef, tough skin. I can take all criticism. Once you finish that one, put a 1 in the chat. Okay? Then there's the second quiz in there, which is the Culinary Basics quiz. Okay? Once you take that one, put a 2 in the chat. Okay? After you've taken both of those, Dr. Kennedy, do you have anything you want to add before I let the youth go?
Not at all, sir. You touched it all. Just feel free to reach out if you have any questions about that final project. I know that information has been included with each email that has been sent out, but feel free to reach out if you have questions. I know Chef Dre just described it, but if you have any questions, just let us know, so we don't have to respond to your questions on when they're due.
Right. Excellent, excellent. All right, thank you, Michael. You fill out the second one, put a 2 in the chat. You can log off.
Yes, I hope you guys enjoyed your salad. Look good on this end.
Man, it did to me too.
I
Live
enjoyed
and
it. Thank
man.
you.
You're welcome, Dr. Mom.
Sorry, but I enjoyed it.
And that's okay, right? A lot of times we cook for others. Why not?
I'm eating it up. She's
Right.
looking at me like sideways right now, but I'm eating it.
Listen, we got our
Now, if you want to take it to another level, go get you some bread and toast it. Take some garlic,
Ooh,
and
shut
some
up.
butter, and rub it across the top.
Yeah.
That salad,
Right
that
now.
salad
That's
goes to another level.
Italian.
Listen,
But right now,
we have our barbecue coming up on July the 12th, Olivia. Just FYI, in case you want to make something, July the 12th, July the 12th.
drop it.
I mean,
grab a few more
just saying.
onions, few more cucumbers.
Yeah,
I know. I love this. I love this salad.
that's like my favorite salad. It reminds me
too.
of, all you got to do is add some, what is it, cheese, the feta cheese. You got you a nice little Greek salad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Or some olive, whatever. I just love it. It could just,
Thank you,
I'm good.
Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you, S.O.A.R.
Good night, everyone. All right, Dr. Adrian. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Harlem, I appreciate you being on camera, man. I had no idea what you look like. I appreciate you being available for camera today.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, T.
Thank you, Tiana.
Oh, there were a couple chats, but I'll talk to you guys off camera.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
You know what? You can put. Oh, well, she logged. I was gonna say you put it in the group chat. Appreciate you, Michael. All right, Olivia, have you started the course evaluation?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm
cool.
still doing.
Okay, cool. No problem. Harlem, how about you? Did you start the course evaluation?
Yeah, I'm almost done.
Okay, cool. Harlem, I'm going to safely assume you live in New York, or your family is from New York. You don't get an iconic name like Harlem and not be from NYC.
No, I'm from New Jersey.
Really?
Yeah.
Is your parents from New York?
No.
That's crazy. Well, they gave you a very iconic name that has a lot of historical background to it. Harlem. Thank you, Harlem. I saw you one in the chat.
I just finished.
Thank you so much, Liv.
Have a good one.
Have a good
You
one.
too.
Good
See you
night.
next week.
Oh, so sleepy.
Good night.
Well, all right.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not what I want to do.
Close